Hey everyone, I wanted to make another video of what I like to call sensorimotor or hyperawareness extended. Just a term I came up with, it just doesn't really mean anything. To encompass that, the sensorimotor based fears are so much more than the big five. The blinking, breathing, swallowing, saliva, your heartbeat, so much more than the internal bodily sensations. Why the same principles, the fear of noticing a sensation forever and it ruining your life, applies to all physical ailments as well, even if it's real or not. Remember, people always say, what if it's my OCD or not? I say, well, what if you have stage 4 cancer and you have pain from that? You still have to apply the hyper-awareness sensation-based principles to your pain symptoms, especially during chemo and radiation, ablation therapy, whatever you tend to do, even though it's real. So this is what I try and tell people. The principles are not just for OCD recovery. It's not for the theoretical. It's for everything in life. Before I go any further, please subscribe. Hit that like button down below. And then look for that direct message for What's Up from Phil. The schedule is just, it's all over the place right now. We are working with every time zone like we always have. But we are growing. It never ceases to amaze me how many people come in from all over the world to speak to us. I never would have thought 10 years ago when I was in college, University of Central Florida, going out drinking till 3 in the morning, going to techno shows. If you would have came up to me and said, you're going to be working with people all over the world, every continent, every country, places you never thought, translator calls, it's the most meaningful thing. And this means more to me than anything because the reason my OCD became so severe was because of my hyper-awareness. And it wasn't just based around the bodily sensations, even though I had blinking, saliva, swallowing, breathing here and there, and a lot of other things. I would say saliva and swallowing and blinking were the big ones for a multi-year process, but it went way beyond that. So if you don't know who I am and you haven't seen my videos, which I think we're going to promote this video a lot, so I think I'm going to give as much information as I can about this, including mistakes that I made, including incorrect statements that I hear around sensorimotor, such as the big one, rumination is a compulsion, and rumination is something that you do to yourself. Not true whatsoever. Your core fear is driving rumination, intrusive thoughts, images, sensation. The intrusiveness of your sensation, let's say it's a headache, and you're going to the doctors over and over again. If the belief is, oh my gosh, I'm having an aneurysm, I'm having a stroke, health OCD, health anxiety mix very well yin-yang with the hyper-awareness-based fears, you're going to be hyper-aware or intrusive about that over and over and over again. So it is important to understand that. But if you haven't seen my stuff, my name is Nick. I'm from New Jersey. I've had OCD, not chronically, but I can trace it all the way back to my childhood. Just doing a lot of just right sensations. Used to put cocoa butter on 20, 30 times a day to feel a certain sensation. I didn't want to live in certain climates. I avoided certain clothes. I didn't wear underwear for 10 years because the way it made me feel fat with my body dysmorphia. I just had so many. I took multiple hour-long baths all the time because of the sensation. I call it sensation swapping. I would take these really long baths and showers because when I was in there, it made me feel really good. And all of that blended together for stepping stones as my OCD became more chronic and more chronic, and it became a latching mechanism in 2019 at 2 o'clock in the morning when my tinnitus became completely chronic. In and out of hospitals, getting ears checks, audiologists, reading everything on the American Tinnitus Association website, watching nonstop stuff, reading books on it, etc., all led me in the wrong direction by well-intentioned individuals. This is a very important point. People are trying their best. They are trying their best. But this is one of those things in life where, and not everything has a 1-to-1 ratio. The best advice tends to come from people who have been through it and come out the other side and sustain that track record for long periods of time. Sensorimotor is probably in the bottom of the barrel of misunderstood. I'll use an example. I don't really talk about too many books outside the reading list, but most people know who Napoleon Hill is, Think and Grow Rich. He was interviewing a medical doctor in the book from the 20s, 1915, 20, and he said 75% of the things that come to see me are psychological. And that was 100 years ago. Now we know it's more than that probably. So, and even if it's not psychological, the principles still apply. If you break your leg in half and your life comes to a crashing halt, you still want to apply unconditional life, self, and sensation-based acceptance, which is fear of fear, and life acceptance to those things. So it started with tinnitus, woke up in the middle of the night. As the years went on, 2019, 20, 21, 22, it was saliva, swallowing, blinking, hyper-awareness of my thumbs, belt line, clothing sensations, hyper-awareness of anger sensations. This is commonly missed. the belief of I'm not an angry person, why am I so angry? Now your brain is hyper fixated on the anger sensations, perpetuating the anger cycle over and over and over again. So that's a very common one. Pain. Most people know I'm a chiropractor by trade. I would say I'm a unique chiropractor. It's not I'm unique in the sense I'm better. My life structure and how I went through OCD and anxiety recovery has taught me many things to apply to people in my chiro practice, where it comes to pain, where it comes to neck pain, low back pain, teaching them the psychological perspectives of looking at it from another angle. And they say to me, I've never heard a medical provider say, I've never heard a chiro, physio, massage therapist, Reiki instructor, acupuncturist, dry needleist, whoever's doing that, medical doctor, surgeon, radiologist, whoever it is, woo-woo, spiritual leader. I've never heard anyone, not calling spiritual leaders woo-woo, I was just saying woo-woo and then spiritual leaders, because I know what some of you are thinking right there. And all of that is missed. So much information on how much your psychology plays into your pain and your sensations. So let me give you some of the examples of the sensory, motor, and hyperawareness fears I've worked with where people thought they were different. Anything in the nose, TMJ and jaw, hyperawareness of the mouth, anything in the mouth outside saliva and swallowing, hyperawareness of the haircut, constantly hyper-aware of the haircut, pelvic floor for females, postpartum birth, etc., constantly going to physios, hyper-awareness of your consciousness, your bodily movements, hyper-awareness in the existential solipsism, yin and yang. Am I alive? Am I a robot? I'm hyper-aware of the disconnected sensations. This is very difficult to understand unless you've lived it. It's next to impossible, because what individuals don't realize who tell people per se to not ruminate is they say, it's not possible for me to not ruminate. I ruminate all day. That's because it's an automatic symptom. I use very poignant examples with people. So you wouldn't walk outside in the rain cloud and look at the rain and say, stop raining. The rain goes away when the storm goes away. I use ones with females on one-to-ones to get in there and show them from a personal thing. Not that I can relate to this, but they'll say, have you had a menstrual cycle before? And they laugh and they say, yes. I say, imagine if I came up to you 2 days onto your menstrual cycle and I said, do me a favor, Jane, no more symptoms. All the bloating, all the hormone problems, the fog, maybe PMS symptoms, just turn it off. And they laugh and they say, wow, that makes so much sense. Men, I use a cold, I use virus. And I say, imagine you have COVID. I come up to you and I say, don't cough. And they would say, yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. It's like telling someone to not ruminate about their sensation. It's also asinine and funny to tell someone to not think about their sensations. On top of this, to flip to the other side, the goal of all hyper-awareness and sensation-based fears is not to never notice your sensations again. That's what so many people go wrong. I hear this all day on calls. It was gone. It was gone for 2 years. It was gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. You'll never hear me say the words it's gone, because it's not about it being gone. It's about accepting the presence of sensations. All the big five: swallowing, saliva, heartbeat, blinking, breathing. Whew, I said that backwards, threw me off. The awareness of all those things. I have no quarrels with noticing any sensation. I hike big mountains, I'm going to notice my breathing. I go to the gym, I get dry mouth, I'm going to notice my saliva and swallowing. I'm not scared of those. Even if it became a latching mechanism again. I don't like that. Acceptance doesn't mean agreement. This is where you'll learn a lot from this book. If you don't read this book, OCDrecovery.com, resource tab, read top to bottom. First book is Stubbornly Refused, last book is Meditations. This is a very, very important book for breaking down fears. Sensory motor-based fears and health OCD, this matters more. Not that the mental self-esteem is not vitally important, it is. But in the order of importance from hyper-awareness, I recommend this book, then Self-Help for Your Nerves, then Paul David's, which is 1, 3, and 5 on the reading list, because those are more based around sensations. Self-Help for Your Nerves and Paul David's books are incredible key principles, but those books in of themselves will not lead to OCD recovery at the chronic level, because it's not enough about the fear. Paul David, love him. You find my video, you changed my life. I'm very, very appreciative. But your principles based around leaving it there and then just going away from desensitization will not actually work for OCD. It's a piece of it. It's a key piece of it, but it's not enough to get you where you want to go. And that's why that's so important. Now, you have to be very mindful about how health OCD and health anxiety will convince you in a matter of seconds that you're dying and something is wrong. So the amount of people that will, like I said, go to the doctors, check this out. Let's say I started developing very severe neurological symptoms tomorrow because of what I know, well, if I have a disease, it's going to be there, whether I go to the doctors today, tomorrow, or next week. So I delay almost everything. Some people can look at me and say that if I break my leg and my tibia is sticking out of my fucking leg, I'm going to the doctor, right? But that's not what I'm saying here. Most people have to delay and take the risk. It's irresponsible. People are going to think I'm stupid. The doctor's going to call me stupid. Why didn't you come in a month ago, you idiot? You know, I don't want to be judged, all that type of stuff. That's where the myth of self-esteem really comes into play. You're going to have to get comfortable with that sensation being there for the long time and morphing. So what do I expect to happen as you start breaking down your fears? Morphing, whether it's only in the big five or any other things. Intensity increasing. A lot of people's intensities are increasing a lot. Irresponsibility risks. Oh my gosh, I should be going to the doctor. I'm so irresponsible. And number 4, it's going to take a lot longer than you want because you're so scared of those sensations being there for the long term. I was there. I was petrified of these sensations, but you're going to have to take the risk. Remember, the ultimate goal is not to never notice these sensations. I have no quarrels with never noticing these sensations. It's also not the same as waking up every day and saying that, you know, excuse my language here because I have to say it with this abruptness. You know, there's a lot of people that say, well, I just don't give a fuck. It's very similar to when someone says on social media, they say, I don't give a fuck what anyone says about me. Well, you have lip fillers, you have a nose job, you have plastic surgery, you have butt implants, you're on anabolic steroids, you care what everyone says about you. And that's okay. It's not a hateful thing. I hated myself because of that. I no longer hate myself or anyone. And I try to help people, but I have to be abrupt in the way I deliver that knowledge. Because if I'm not abrupt in the way I deliver it, people really miss that. Because the biggest names in social media, the biggest people in context around fears of rejection are proclaiming at an all-time, I don't care what anyone says about me. Well, you care a lot, and that's okay. Of course I care what people say about me. I care what people say about me in a healthy dosage so I can take that information, decipher what's important, weigh those decisions, as Ray Dalio says, and then see what I'm going to change. Just saying you don't care what anyone says about you or you don't care about your sensations is a very superficial response that I did for years. So please don't do that. And as you're reading the books on the reading list, you're becoming more attuned and breaking down your worst case scenario. You're changing your behaviors. You're not isolating. You're wearing the sensation everywhere, and you're not trying to force the present moment. So sensorimotor is not just the big 5. It goes for any sensation. The principles apply, and just the overall experience of being stuck with OCD with anything, right? Thoughts, images, sensation, urges, because that will present a certain way in your body. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think about this. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know. Remember the direct message from Phil. We have webinars every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. And every once in a while, I've been trying to slow my lingo down a little bit for the people that are in other countries. Someone put a terrific comment on one of my videos last week. They said something on the lines of, you're someone I have to listen to in 0.5 speed. That is outstanding. That was one of my favorite comments. Thank you. And, you know, just be prepared to be confused for a long time. Thank you so much, everyone. As always, enjoy the rest of your day.